Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you this fun masculine card I made using the crisscross technique. This technique creates a crisscrossed pocket with an insert that can slide up and down into the pocket, and this one I put a gift card in, but you can easily omit the gift card and just write your message there. So to make this card, I used the Stitched Shapes framelits, and I used the tailored tag punch along with the bundled stamp set that comes with it, the truly tailored stamp set. You can find this on page 45 of the Occasions catalog, along with the gorgeous paper called True Gentleman. Bold masculine colors of Night of Navy, Chocolate Chip, Tranquil Tide, and it also has neutral bases of Crumb Cake and Very Vanilla. A great designer series paper to have on hand for your masculine needs. I can tell you, get this paper because you will use it a lot for all your masculine cards. So this stamp set has some nice sentiments in here. Looking sharp, you're a fox, to a classy kind of guy, dad, wishing you a dapper day. It can be a generic today is your day, celebrate in style, so you can put your own sentiment with it, and hoping your birthday is as grand as you. Now this card I made into a birthday card. Today is your day, celebrate in style. I used the little bow tie, and then I did hoping your birthday is as grand as you. But the card we're gonna make on the video today, I'm gonna change it up a little bit and use some different sentiments, and then we're going to make it into a Father's Day card. So you'll be all ready for that. So let's get started with what we are going to need. We are going to need a piece of designer series paper. We're going to use half of a sheet, so it's going to be 6 inches by 12 inches. And then we're going to score it at 4 and 8, and then we're going to turn it and score it at a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to cut this, because you need to have a template that ends up like this, where the 2 triangles on the right side and the left side are cut off, and the flaps at the bottom are cut off. So we're going to do that on our Stampin' trimmer. So we get out our Stampin' trimmer, and we use our scoring blade. Remember, you have 2 colored blades here, a lighter gray and a darker gray. The lighter gray is your scoring blade, and the darker gray is your cutting blade. So what we did was we scored it at 4. We put our cutting blade at the bottom and we scored it at 4. We slid it over to the 8-inch mark, and then we scored at 8. So 4 and 8 on the 12-inch side. Then we're going to take our paper and we're going to line up the right side of it with the 6-inch side at the top. We're going to line up the right side of the paper, the 12-inch side, on the right side of this cutting groove here and scoring groove. Did you know if you've used the cutting groove for many times and you are starting to get some resistance, it probably needs replaced, and we have replacements for that groove, but I've only ever had to replace one, and I do a lot of cutting and a lot of scoring on here. So what we're going to do is, this was the scored line at 1/2 inch, but now we want to cut out this top flap. We want to leave the middle flap intact and cut out the bottom one. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our dark cutting blade, and we're going to measure down to 4 inches on the ruler that's on this folding ruler. So we put it at 4, and then we are just going to cut up. And then we're going to need to get to the bottom part and cut the last 4 inches off. So we're going to come down here to 8. We're going to line up the little point at the 8-inch mark. We're going to let our clear glide go down, and we're going to cut down off the paper. And now you can see we have this flap and we have this flap. Now we want to have this piece here to be our folding up part to make the pocket. So what we're going to do is just going to simply take your paper snips, and you're just going to cut a little bit on the left side. If you're working on this side, it's going to be on the left side of the score line. And if you're working on the left side of the paper, you're going to be on the right side of the score line, and you're just going to cut a little bit of a triangle. So now this is going to be the flap, and these are gone. But of course, we're going to be using, this is one piece of paper that I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use. I wanted to use the eyeglasses because I'm going to use that sentiment, but oh, I love this plaid. It's so pretty. So what we're going to do is we have these two pieces cut out now, and this is going to be the flap that adheres the pocket together. But now we have to get rid of, as you can see here, we need to take these triangles and get them cut off. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to bring back our Stampin' trimmer, put our cutting blade up at the top, and what we're going to do is we have two score lines here, one at 4 and one at 8. So we're going to take this point right here where the scoring is, and we're going to take the bottom right side here, and we're going to put this point in the groove and that point in the groove. So just like when we did the cutting off on the diagonal split card, we're just lining up right at that point where the scoring is at the top in that groove, and the point here on the right side, and we're going to put this down, and we're just going to cut that triangle off. So there we have cut that triangle off. Save that triangle. So then we're going to now have to cut off this triangle on this side. So to do that, we're going to put this point here where the score line is, up at the groove, right in the groove, and we're going to take this point that was on the lower left side and put this point in the groove and this point in the groove. And just before you do any cutting, just kind of look at your paper and see exactly, is it going to turn out to be the shape? Okay, because sometimes we put our paper in and then we just start cutting and hacking and we're not really paying attention. But just look, does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. So now I find it easier to start at the top and go down. So I just have this scored point here and this point here at the bottom, and then I'm going to cut this triangle off. So there we go. We have now our template to make our pocket. So to make this pocket, we're simply going to take our adhesive. Some snail is fine with this because it's an interactive card, but it's not one that's going to be really abused as much. And we're just going to take one of our flaps and fold it over. I guess I should have played around with this a little bit before of course, we could use our bone folder for that, but designer series paper is pretty lightweight, so it's really easy to work with. So there we have the first part of the pocket, and of course there's no adhesive down on the bottom because the adhesive was put on this part of the flap. So don't put the adhesive on this part of the flap because then you're just going to glue it down that way. You want to fold your flap up, put your adhesive here so that it then has free movement into the bottom of the card. So now we're going to have to put a little bit of adhesive. Actually, it's almost better to put it on the part that you folded over because then you won't go up too high on this side, because if you put it here and it's a little too high, it's going to stick on the inside. So we're just going to put that crisscross over. The first one was the Criss and now is the cross, and then we have our pocket. So there's our pocket, and then we're going to have to make an insert that goes in. Now this insert is a piece of Night of Navy, and what I did was I cut it to 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And of course, all of these measurements will be on my blog post for this card. And so this allows this insert to fit into this 4-inch opening to slide in and out. So then the border of Night of Navy is going to go around a very vanilla piece of paper. And that cardstock is measured at 3 1/2 by 5. So I just had 1/8 of an inch border all around it. So that made it 3 1/2 by 5. So on this card, we're going to make this a Father's Day card, but we're still going to use the same sentiment that I used on the card with the bow tie. Today is your day, celebrate in style, but I want to put a happy birthday down here. But as you can see in the stamp set, there's not a happy birthday, but we have a great stamp set that's been around a while called Guy Greetings. So this one pairs very well with this other stamp set. So we're going to be using the Happy Father's Day sentiment from the Guy Greeting stamp set, and we're going to be using these fancy little spectator shoes. So what we're going to do is use, since I'm using Night of Navy for my cardstock, I'm going to use the Tranquil Tide, because that's mostly what you see on here is the Tranquil Tide and the Night of Navy. I do like that it has crushed curry in here, but you really don't see it when the card insert is in there. So what I used is the Tranquil Tide ink. And then what I did was I just stamped "Today is your day, celebrate in style" at the top, put the fancy little spectator shoes, and then at the bottom I put "Happy Father's Day." So right there we've changed up our card just a little bit by putting the shoes here and putting "Happy Father's Day" and made it into a different card. So what we're going to do is just put some adhesive on the back of the vanilla panel, and we're going to adhere it to our Night of Navy panel. And then, so that the recipient knows that this is a pull-out card, we're going to need to put on a piece of the corduroy ribbon to be your tab to pull it out. So on that card, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of my tear tape. I found this needed to be a little bit more sturdy. So take about a 1/2 inch. I made this 2.5 inches, and so I put just like a 1/2 inch of the tear tape on the inside, the wrong side of the ribbon, and then I just pulled off our protective adhere, protective covering off the tear and tape, and then I just folded it over so that I had it together there. And then I took another piece of the tear and tape, just tore it off, and put it on the one side of our pull tab, and then took off the protective coating there, and then I just turned over my card and I just eyeballed where I thought it would be the middle, and I adhered the tear tape, and then that kept a nice good, ooh, got a little bit on this side, so we will just tuck that tear and tape in there. But we've got our little tab. Oh, I don't like it that way. I don't like that little bit of adhesives there. So I'm just going to really play around with it and get it tucked in there. Could I also pull it up a little bit and fix that? Okay. Of course. All right. So there we go. We have hidden that little piece of tear tape. Okay, so now we have our insert that's going to go into our pocket. Now, when you put this gift card into your, here we have a little temporary adhesive here. When you put this gift card into onto your insert, you put it down closest to the bottom sentiment, but when you put it into your pocket, you might see a little bit of this. So that's where this handy dandy oval comes in. So what I did with this oval is I just put some adhesive, and this oval is the next to the largest oval in the stitched shapes framelits. And then I wanted to show the shoes, but I wanted to just cover up the little bit of the gift card. So this will be something that you do on your card wherever you end up having your stamped image. And then I just put my oval stitch shape right there, and then it shows the pretty shoes, handsome shoes, should I say, and it covers up the gift card. So then I took a piece of this 3/8 inch corduroy Night of Navy ribbon that's in the Occasions catalog on page 45. It is so soft and it's so masculine, even though it's soft. So what we're going to do is we're going to adhere this around the card before we put on the tailored tag. So what we're going to do there is just put some adhesive right there in the middle on the actual oval, and then we can just start it here. We can bring it around the back and bring it around to the front, and then we can snip off any excess. I guess that doesn't work if you don't have adhesive there. And so then we just put our ribbon right there. So now we're going to want to pop up, let's put this all together so we can see what it looks like here. We're going to want to pop up this tag here. So you're going to be using a 2 3/4 inch by 2 inch piece of Very Vanilla, and also a 2 3/4 inch by 2 inch piece of the Navy. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the tag using the tailored tag punch. So we cut out our Navy tag, and then we stamped Lookin' Sharp, that mimics the glasses on here. We stamped this in Tranquil Tide, and now we're going to want to fit this tag onto this tag. Now, if we use this tailored tag punch to cut this out, it's going to be the exact same size as this. So what I propose we do is just cut this image relatively close to the image because you want a nice little border. Really simple to do because it's a small image, so whenever you go to cut with your scissors, you don't tend to have any wiggly lines. So you just go pretty close to the lined image and just trim with your paper trimmer. I mean your paper snips, not your paper trimmer. That'd be a little difficult. And you just use your, sorry about that, guys and gals. Okay, just right nice and close to the lined image using your paper snips. If you don't have paper snips, that's another tool that is just indispensable in my stamping cachet because they are so sharp. I use them just on paper. I try not to ever use them on ribbon. And what we're going to do is just adhere that tag to the Night of Navy tag. And I simply did that with some general purpose adhesive like snail or your Tombow glue. And then you just add that tag to your Night of Navy. And then I just popped it off the front, and I did that with dimensionals. And what I did was I put my dimensionals on the top and the bottom points. Because if I would have put them here, I would have had to try to stick it to the corduroy. So what I did is I just took them and put it down in the bottom and the top corner. And then it just goes, it has enough room for the ribbon to go through there. And then I just lined up the right and the left side with the ribbon to get it in the middle. And then I just adhered it there. So now you have a card. Today is your styles. Today is your day. Celebrate in style. Happy Father's Day. So we were able to make 2 different cards, just adding in the Happy Father's Day sentiment from the Guy Greetings stamp set that we have in the annual catalog. So this is a really simple technique, just creating a little pocket for an insert to go into. So you can find all the measurements, all the instructions to make these 2 cards on my blog, cindyleeBdesigns.com. You can also email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com with any questions you might have. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for buzzing by, friends.